Man, this game is so hard to judge. Because on one hand, you have this first half that is incredibly good. It hit a lot of nostalgia points for me and a lot of the things I really want from a zombie game. It it stands out especially since it's not a pure horde shooter in a zombie game. Like a lot of zombie games these days are just shooting hordes. I mean, the most recent one was Back for Blood, which recently closed shop because it was a non-evolving script and people wanted to make it a live service thing. And but what I really liked the most about this is it had this Daisy vibe at the start where you're alone. You really scavenged for every resource that you need, or you were pressed for it, and the game doesn't overpower you too fast. And even late game, um, like I don't really know how they made it. If they made it a level lock or made it orientate on the quest main quest that you have fulfilled, but the overworld got considerably stronger over time. You know, suddenly instead of singular zombietins, they would go in groups of two, four, six. Suddenly those cougars would show up. When I got to the desert map, desert part, we suddenly encountered bears. It was freaking awesome. How the entire overworld slowly leveled up and kept the power balance. Like so often I see the lazy way of you are level 8, so everyone in the overworld is level 8. We I have played way too many looter shooters that just follow the same formula or script that get, yeah, where you constantly fight these massive hordes. And here it still has some of these flaws. For example, when the church scene was ridiculously action loaded, where we went and said goodbye to Sarah and we accepted that she was finally dead and wanted to leave our ring at the altar and then set the church on fire. But then suddenly there were two bandit fights in there for some reason. They absolutely didn't fit the bill. But nonetheless, this was one of the two only problems I had with the first part of the game. And everything else was just grabbing well into each other. Of course, we have me here, who really likes doing boring hunting and foraging and just goof around in the overworld for a day. Go horde hunting, do the side objectives. And I must say the first map was so good in merging everything together. And then came the second map. And I said it early in the stream, and I'm gonna say it again because, hey, what else am I going to do? This is the final verdict. A moment where we went on the adventure to find Sarah, when we had confirmation from O'Brien that she got overrun from that militia, that there was actually a good chance she could be alive. That is where the game should cut. That is, or at least in my brain, where the game cuts hard. Because everything on our character resets besides our weapon. We go into a territory and we have left everything and everyone behind. We go into a territory where we know no one. And no one knows us. And so we go, and I'm gonna switch the music off just in case. And so we go into this second world, and suddenly we are alone again. But instead of having this lone biker romance that we had on the first map, we were in this burned down wasteland. And it was so depressing and boring that I really thought that they created this only to stall for time. Like, how can we create a big part of the map that doesn't really cost a lot of extra resources? How can we make everything basically on the cheap? Like, houses were planted wildly with no, like, what was the environmental storytelling? Yeah, houses burnt down, forests burnt down because it got harvested for those forts. That was everything. As when the first map you go to a farm and you saw corpses, you saw hay bales, tractors, and bloodstains, and you could see a story of how shit got overrun. And on the second map, what the fuck? One third is completely harvested and burned, and you are there for a good hour or two. Like, then this not Diamond Lake, but the Wizard's Island was so stretched. You had to walk so far to everything. It was, whoa, man. It's especially everything in the first map made sense. I'm gonna bring the Tucker vs. Wizard Island example again, where Tucker's island made sense. They were escaping. They got to a plot of land that was cut off through a river with a strong flow. So every infected that tried to go through the river and to them on the camp would just get flushed away. They made a bridge so there would only be one entrance and had a lot of men stationed to keep the camp safe. The thing that made it so immersive is that they had no stuff to make huge walls. They made do with what they had, and you could imagine that camp being attacked by raiders, and the living quarters where you sleep and everything were easily attacked. Why? Because there was no extra space. It had to be there because, yeah, there was no better place to be in. The other side was the work side, where they tried to make farms and everything. And then you come into the military side and everything is hyper organized, brought down for efficiency. And man, does it not feel, it doesn't feel right in this. The thing that was basically missing was a lot of scuff or handwork. Like they had military tents, military boxes. And Wizard Island even had, as I said, full means of producing any kind of ammunition. We of course get that in the expose, but I'm coming to that in a moment. And that made it not interesting because they had everything. And when you have everything, what is there to fight for? You know, what is there to keep? It basically try to, like, first they take everything away from you, and then you come to the new map, you meet this captain, you do a mission or two with him, and suddenly you get to high command, and he spills the beans. What has happened? How they got here? Like, important information that you maybe should rather find out through missions. Like, sure, they used the card of the captain, vouched for Deacon, Corey vouched for Deacon, and Corey is someone of extreme trust to the corporal, and so it's okay for Deacon to know all of that. It's a very heavy crank to get his story going, and I don't. It's like slowly below average. You know, it's okay, but it's annoying me that is how they try to elevate the story. Let's go back to the first map again. Iron Mike. There was a story there. We slowly got the story fed. We lived there, something happened, and suddenly Boozer and Deacon moved out. And Mike was even like, yeah, if you walk away, don't come back. And then you had to go back because Boozer's arm got a blood poisoning infection. And then Iron Mike, the good guy that he is, allowed them to stay for as long as Boozer needs to heal. And that gave us then time to regain trust and, yeah, to allow us to stay longer. And then we betray that camp again and want to go off to find our girlfriend. It is such a good story loop. But in the second map, we just get an expose and are supposed to expect everything. And kinda you can kinda sort of put it under the cloak of military, but that is so. It is so boring, man. As to where before everything had to be slowly gathered. Now you are suddenly at a place and it is what it is. That's it. It's good enough. Wanted to go to the radio tower, but this also works. Yeah, it's probably better. And man, man, it's just such a stark contrast between map 1 and map 2. Like, I feel at home here instantly. Even though this was never my home base, even though it's supposed to. I even remember that at some point they promised that you can build up your own camp and have NPCs walk around. They will become stronger. They will harvest and scavenge for you. And then they didn't deliver on it on the final product. It's all stuff I knew before I started playing this. Because they worked it into a system for the other camps, and that is more than totally fine. And it's like the things that really helped immerse you or make these side stories not annoying, like those blue question marks, is that they always had some sort of reward system. You know, there was a hostage to save. There were a big amount of resources, but I cannot stress enough how it massively dissatisfying it was when we got out, mowed everyone down, and then the game is like, yo, tough luck, you know? It's not I lost the plot here. Damn it. My train of thought. I really liked how each encampment would give you a chain of quests to gain their trust. Oh, there are overworld objectives that are not necessarily main quests, but still help you gain their trust anyways. Purging nests, hunting hordes, or finding those survivors. Yeah, and then the passive quest is always hunt for meat or forage. I find this system extremely attractive. They help my immersion a bunch, a whole lot. It was a little bit too much hunting. Yes, I will give up on that side. That maybe cut down the amount of deer and wolves you encounter by half. Maybe make them stronger, but also make the trust and money you get for that meat and more as well. So you still have the same tempo, even so there's less of them around. Um, because right now I can just drive my usual route, you know, go like this, and I would have like somewhere between 300 to 600 trust in my bag. I would hunt, I think, between 6 to 18 deer. Would probably encounter 2 to 3 wolves, which can have 2 to 3 wolves, so I'm not going to say a direct number there. And yeah, maybe even a bear or two. And I did that a lot when I went also horde hunting, you know? Things I didn't really take a look at was the sky. I always expect the sky to be some low-res picture that will just not really contribute anything. Like, day sky is always blue and white, night sky is always black and some white dots on it. But this game went a little bit further, and don't forget that this game is quite old. I need to remember. And you know, 2019. Ah, okay, it's not as old as I thought it was. 2 years older. But this game really went far with environmental effects. The moment it snowed, everything it didn't instantly hit a snow coat on everything, but when you fast traveled, everything was snowy, of course. But when you just get into a snowstorm or into the rain, like even now you could see how slowly Deacon's cloth, like it took 3 stages till it became this wet. Now he's soaked. And these little details are so nice. And not on often games only give the player this amount of details, but this game went everywhere with this amount of detail. Which is why also I'm so massively upset with this second map here. Because there wasn't snow suddenly. Like we were here and it would even the desert would snow occasionally. And it kinda makes sense since we have this mountain line here. The what's it called? The clouds would get stuck and not get over the pass until they have a lot of mass, and then they flop over, and then suddenly it's winter here. But every time you were in this section here, no snow, only rain. And that sucked so much. Especially since we have this counter here. I think you start at 765 days, something like that. And then you can see how many days in game you have. You went and discovered the world. Let's go to another place. Just to mix it up. And not this one. Let's go to the place I originally envisioned.
Okay. Right on target. Down you go.
I completely forget that I have that attack.